And our opening words this morning are by Tim Haley. Amidst all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. Come, let us worship together. I did have a Mother's Day prayer all prepared for this morning, but this morning I was sent this prayer by my friend and colleague Julia Hamilton. It's a prayer for the safe return of all of those kidnapped girls in Nigeria. Restless, our hearts are running across the water to find you, daughters, girls with dreams of your own, caught up in the conflicts of men who do not see beyond the hardness of their own hearts that seem to hold no tenderness in them anymore. Our hearts are running across the water to find you, daughters, girls we have never met. And yet we are caught up in the web of life together, knowing we cannot be free while you are in bondage. Spirit of life, love abundant, be with these girls in their confusion and fear. Bring them strength. Spirit of life, love abundant, be with their mothers and families in their grief and anger. Bring them justice. Spirit of life, love abundant, be with their captors who are themselves in bondage. Bring them mercy. Spirit of life, love abundant, move in every heart. Bring us peace and inspire us to build a world where the worth and dignity of every child is held in sacred trust. May it be so. Amen. Our reading this morning is by one of my very favorite poets, Billy Collins, called The Lanyard. The other day I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater, from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly. A past where I sat at a workbench, at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin strips of plastic into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one if that's what you did with them, but that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a camp counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift, not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-toned lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. Last year, I filled you in on a bit of the history of Mother's Day, that it was originally a day for mothers to unite for world peace, led by Julia Ward Howe. That it was reestablished by Anna Jarvis, the daughter of an activist who wanted to honor her own mother and her sacrifices. It was like a victory and a loss to Anna when the holiday caught on. The observance became official in this country in 1914 when Woodrow Wilson signed a proclamation naming the second Sunday of May as a day for public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country. But soon it became a day that Anna Jarvis never meant it to be. The greeting card companies and florists quickly latched on to this second Sunday in May and put their stamp on it. According to the National Retail Federation, Americans will spend $19.9 billion on mom this year. The U.S. National Restaurant Association reports that Mother's Day is the year's most popular holiday for dining out. Hallmark Cards reports that Mother's Day is the number 3 holiday for card exchange in the United States, just behind Christmas and Valentine's Day. And after Christmas, it's the second most popular holiday for giving gifts. Those are only store-bought gifts that they are counting, by the way, to say nothing of the many lanyards that may be exchanged on this day. So if we think of the beginning as Woodrow Wilson's proclamation, today marks the 100th anniversary of Mother's Day. But it seems important to begin by differentiating the Mother's Day we are celebrating this morning with the Mother's Day that is being celebrated in the greeting card aisles at the local pharmacies and grocery stores. Those cards seem to be celebrating a consumer-driven commercial holiday that honors only perfect mothers. Those who have been present and available and loving to us unfailingly throughout the years. Those who have been content to put our needs first because as mothers they have no needs of their own. Those who have lived for feeding and clothing and providing for us. Those who are not entangled with the messiness of the world, but rather set apart, consumed and driven only by the pleasures, and they are pleasures, of the domestic realm. On the Hallmark website, you can see a timeline of Mother's Day cards dating back to 1920. There are a lot of aprons featured, and flowers, and teapots. The Mother's Day put on by Hallmark is not the Mother's Day that we are celebrating. Although I will tell you about a wonderful card that I found for my mother a few years ago that does fit in this morning. On the front of the card is a photo of a 1950s style mom with perfectly styled hair and a ruffled apron over her dress. She has mixing bowls and spatulas on the table and a whisk in her hand. She has, of course, a big smile on her face. The front of the card reads, "On Mother's Day, I have a question for you." And on the inside of the card is the question, what is she doing? This year, as I have done for many years now, I sent my mother a card from Renewal House, a Unitarian Universalist domestic violence shelter in Boston, saying that a donation has been made in her name. These are the cards that fit in with the Mother's Day I want to celebrate with you today. Cards that celebrate all mothers. Mothers who make the best cookies in the world, and mothers who are not terribly adept in the kitchen. Mothers who have created and experienced hearth and home as sanctuary, and mothers who have sought sanctuary because home was not a safe place to be. Mothers who have made their children their world, and mothers who have engaged deeply with the larger world, working for justice and peace. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to lift up with love and compassion all of our mothers, the #1 moms, and the moms we struggle to love. The mothers who birthed us, and the mothers who took over when our birth moms weren't able to raise us. The mothers we know, and the mothers we never got a chance to meet, but who nonetheless brought us into this world. The mothers who were related to us, and the mothers who came into our lives in other ways, took up that role of caring for us when we needed it. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to call up our mothers who are living, and also a day for us to remember our mothers who are no longer with us, and to sit with the sadness of knowing that we cannot call. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to sit by the bedside of our ailing mothers and grandmothers and hope they recognize us. Our Mother's Day is a day for those of us who are mothers to love ourselves, celebrate and forgive ourselves for our good and bad mothering. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to hope that our children remember to call us. Our Mother's Day is a day for those of us who wanted deeply to have children but couldn't, to mourn our loss. Our Mother's Day is a day for those of us who have lost children, to sit with our grief and be gentle with ourselves as we mourn. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to love the children who have disowned us and to mourn for lost relationship. Our Mother's Day is a day for those of us who have given a child up for adoption to honor our choice as one of the best acts of mothering we could have done. Our Mother's Day is a day for those of us who are not mothers to celebrate the other ways in which we mother to this world. We dishonor motherhood by having a narrow embrace of who should be recognized on this day. A friend of mine recently lamented the treacly Mother's Day card addressed to Mommy, sent home from his child's daycare to her two dads. The Hallmark Mother's Day expresses such a narrow understanding of mothering. This morning, as we celebrate Mother's Day, I invite you to crack open your definition of the day. Widen it. Get rid of the walls around it. Invite others into it. Invite yourself into it. On this day that honors mothers, we explore the mother inside all of us and offer our appreciation for all those who have mothered to us. My colleague Barbara Rode writes, "I wasn't flattered when one of my daughters confided that she had thought of me as the big there when she was 3 years old. If I remember correctly," she says, "I was in the middle of a phase where I was hoping to reassure myself that I still had a fertile mind as well as a welcoming bosom. Now, years later," she says, "I could admit that the role of big there is a role not to be disparaged. At times, even the most mature of us want someone to dry our eyes, encircle us with welcoming arms, and offer us a cup of hot cocoa. I shall be forever grateful to my friend Ruth," she says, "who interrupted her political campaign to ride to the hospital, make her way past the folks in intensive care with convincing stories that I was her little sister, and reach bravely through the thicket of IVs, heart monitors, and breathing tubes to embrace me." In honoring those who have mothered us, Barbara Child writes, "We have all been mothered by someone, sometime. Yes, of course, perhaps by the woman who brought us forth into the world, but perhaps what we remember of our mothering was by another, by a grandparent or aunt or uncle perhaps. Yes, men can mother too, can love and give and teach by modeling how to be in the world, can lift us up when we are beaten down, can hold us when some monster threatens, can wash our bloodied knees and spirits. Recognizing that our relationships with our mothers are probably the most complex relationships of our lives, recognizing that we all have different relationships to the word and role, recognizing all that we have said up to this point, I invite you to think for a moment about the best of what that word mother conjures up for you. Comfort, maybe. Love. Home. Teacher. Model of how to be in this world. Someone to dry our eyes and wipe our knees. Someone behind you, 100%. Nurturer, caretaker, listener. Think on the best of what a mother can be, and realize that this is you. You have within you the ability to comfort, to love, to create a safe home, to teach what you know, to model to others how to be in the world, to dry a friend's eyes, to wipe a child's skinned knee, to get behind someone 100%, to nurture into being what you want to see more of in the world, to take care of others, to listen deeply. Whatever your own mother has left undone of this task of mothering can be completed by you. The scars we have from our mothers can be healed as we mother to the world in the way that we feel mothering should be done. The legacy of the tender mothering we have been blessed by can live on through the love and care we give. Anna Jarvis, who worked so hard to honor her mother with a special day, spent the rest of her life fighting against what Mother's Day had become. She began an open campaign against Mother's Day profiteers, speaking out against confectioners, florists, and even charities. She launched countless lawsuits against groups that used the name Mother's Day, eventually spending most of her personal wealth in legal fees. By the time of her death in 1948, Anna had disowned the holiday altogether and even actively lobbied the government to see it removed from the American calendar. She died in a sanitarium, driven mad, one might say, by her own narrow definition of Mother's Day. In the beginning, the only flower that Anna Jarvis wanted associated with Mother's Day was the white carnation. Its whiteness is to symbolize the truth, purity, and broad charity of mother love, she said. Its fragrance, her memory, and her prayers. The carnation does not drop its petals, but hugs them to its heart as it dies. And so too, mothers hug their children to their hearts, their mother love never dying. I feel like Anna Jarvis trapped herself a little, needing that undying mother love and no longer able to find it because her mother had died, because what she tried to birth, a humble, meaningful holiday, grew up and changed into something she didn't recognize. I wish that Anna could have celebrated our Mother's Day instead, one where she could adequately grieve the loss of her mother, one where she could honor not only truth and purity and charity, but also doubt and mistakes and loss and humanity, her mother's and her own. One where she could reflect on what she was missing so much and find ways to complete that through her own love. A love that isn't expressed by clinging to something tightly, but by opening, expanding, inviting, and stepping into her own love, her own mothering to the world. Our Mother's Day is not a day to try to make things even with our mothers, either by working desperately to find or make a gift or holiday that will adequately honor her, or by holding tightly to what we feel she owes us. Our Mother's Day is a day for us to hold our mothers and ourselves gently, and to use our own love to complete what is missing. May we here this morning step into our own loving embrace and extend that embrace to others as we imperfectly mother to the world. Amen, and blessed be.